The absolute lack of proper top-down space simulation role-playing games on the mobile market has put holes into the hearts of mobile gamers. As an avid fan of space games myself, I find it frustrating how difficult it is to find a proper space-themed role-playing game that is worth my time and my money. But then, seemingly from out of nowhere, Space RPG 4 shows itself from the darkest pits of the mobile gaming market. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, as one of the channel's popular demand, we are gonna be reviewing Space RPG 4. A game released back in 2021. It is a top-down space simulation role-playing game where you play as an independent pilot just looking to make your fortune. That is, until you realize that you're the main character in a cliché plot where you have special alien powers. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting started. So first, let's talk about The game has less than promising quality when it comes to the controls. I hate to admit it, but the controls are not the best. Though despite this, it is still intuitive and easy to understand. You have an omnidirectional pad to control and move your ship, the red button to fire weapons, and the target button to target ships around you, or to change hostile targets. And I'm sure that you already know what these two small red buttons do. The issue with the controls is that it isn't fluid. Mainly the movement controls. In order to activate your ship's engines to move forward, you have to drag all the way to the edge of the pad. And if you want to turn your ship, you have to change directions inside the pad. Now, you might think that this is all good, nothing's wrong with this. That is, until you realize that you cannot do both at the same time. If you want to move forward, then you cannot turn your ship. If you want to turn your ship, then you cannot move forward. Because if you try to move forward, the control locks to the edge of the pad and you cannot change directions. Honestly, I have no idea why the developer made it like this. Not being able to move forward and turn the ship both at the same time serves zero purpose other than being inconvenient. It will take some time for you to get used to it, but for a game where movement controls are being used for 100% of the entire game, you'd think that it would have flawless movement controls. But no, at the end of the day, it's not the best, and it definitely could be better. As if the controls aren't inconvenient enough, let's take a look at the game settings, shall we? Yes, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game settings. Normally, I wouldn't even mention the settings in game reviews, but this game gets a special mention. Because there are no settings for the game's graphics. There are no settings for the game's visual and particle effects. There are no settings for the game's controls, meaning what you see here is what you get. You cannot rearrange the buttons and the Omnipad however you want. The only thing useful here is the game UI setting. And yes, this is for the game's sound effects only. There's no music setting because the game doesn't have music aside from the title screen. This is not looking good. A few minutes into the review and we are already seeing minor negatives from the controls and the settings alone. I can only hope that the next section can make up for the mechanics. So, let's move on to the gameplay, the game's main selling point. Despite the controls causing a mild case of brain aneurysm to whoever experiences it for the first time, the gameplay more than makes up for it. Welcome to the world of Space RPG 4, bringing you a proper experience of what a top-down space sandbox RPG looks like. This is the vastness of space. This will be your home for the remainder of your life. To begin your journey, you will be given a crate, the top-of-the-line civilian starter ship made of literal cardboard and jury-rigged altogether with duct tape. This beautiful coffin of a ship will serve you terribly in your first few weeks in space. As a freelancer, let's talk about the various jobs that you can take in space. The first and most obvious one is being a trader. Trading and hauling goods all over the galaxy is a guaranteed way to earn a sustainable and consistent profit. But beware the capitalist parasites of the open market. If you don't like the prices they're offering, then engage them in a heated debate about capitalism.
Huh? Huh?
The second job is being a contractor. Different sectors offers various missions for you to take, such as delivery missions, illegal delivery missions, recovery missions, passenger transport, and many more. The third job is being a space explorer. Go out into the unknown and explore uncharted territory, mapping the entire galaxy, discovering and scanning new planets, and investigating the mysteries of the But beware the dangers that lurk within the void, such as black holes, ion storms, and the fourth job that you can do is mining. We don't talk about mining. The fifth job is coincidentally the best and most entertaining way to play the game, and that is and more later down the line.
Background context: humanity is in turmoil, its unity is split. Hey, just like in real life. In these rough times, you are setting out to make a living in the stars. It is dangerous yet exciting time to own a starship. The starship in question is this rusty shitcan of a ship with a petty pea-shooter of a weapon. This is the ship that you start the game with. The game immediately drops you into space without warning, without confirmation, and especially without your consent. And you're left without knowing what you're supposed to do or where you're supposed to go. But luckily for you, ladies and gentlemen, there is a short tutorial for you to follow through. That is, of course, should you accept. But in order to keep the game much more realistic, reject the tutorial and then wander around aimlessly in space, not knowing what to do. After the tutorial, you are left to your own devices to do whatever you want. But one important thing to note is that the main story of the game will find you. And sure enough, we'll look at that, our very first storyline event. And proceeding through will all be very intuitive from here. Space RPG 4's story is linear. However, it does branch out into different paths that you can take further into the story. But ultimately all ends in the same ending, which is you winning and absolutely dominating. The 3 different story branches that you can take is presented to you via joining one of the 3 major factions in the game. Let's talk about the major factions. First, the FER. FER stands for Feed Earth, Starving, which is coincidentally also their main goal. Though, considering the Earth has a population of 73 billion, joining this faction for the main purpose of saving Earth is about the equivalent of simply taking a handgun, putting it up against your head, and then pulling the trigger. But it's not all that bad though, as Earth is starving and stricken with poverty. Food prices on the planet is through the roof. So, why don't you take advantage of the starving citizens and make yourself a fortune as a food trader? The FER also boasts the best ships in terms of style and design, and the most balanced ships in terms of stats compared to the other factions. But most importantly is that the FER capital ship looks like a giant pin. The OSC stands for On the Sidelines Civilians, which is also coincidentally what the faction does for the entire course of the main story. The OSC are made up of a bunch of misfits and outsiders that is pretty much sidelined by the 2 other factions. They are the type of people that would sit back and relax on the outer side of inhabited space, eating popcorn as they watch the other 2 factions tear themselves apart. Their ship styles and designs are absolutely horrible. It looks like the idea came from someone who took a massive dump in the toilet, looked at it, and said, "Hey, this is a great ship design." Despite this, the OSC ships are more on the defensive side, boasting fat, thick ships and a higher hull integrity and armor rating compared to other factions. Finally, the TA, the assholes. The TA is a delusional, self-centered, egoistic faction that could care less about the suffering of the people around them. The TA is a glorified space cult where they themselves believe that the TA is the sole faction chosen by their deity, the Austrian painter with a funny mustache, to rule over the galaxy and crush all opposition. Masters of deception, betrayal, infiltration, and war crimes, the TA makes their point crystal clear that they are the evil ones. But I'm pretty certain that won't stop you from joining them. And the game doesn't stop you either. Despite their atrocious ambitions, they're actually pretty chill. They are the only faction that acknowledges the player as well as understands the importance and value of the player throughout the main story. While the other factions tell the player to go out, kill, try not to die, and go out, chill, try not to die, the TA is the only faction that makes you feel wanted. that makes you feel like you're touching grass, no longer single, and no longer a 22-year-old virgin. Their ships have better designs than the OSC, and focuses more on the offensive. With more weapon slots available on their ships, they boast superior firepower compared to the other factions. Now, you might be wondering, how are any of these factions important to the overall expanse of the game? Well, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is that they are not important at all. It doesn't matter who you choose to join, as you're probably gonna destroy them all anyway. Defy the rules of the galaxy by forming your own faction, developing your own unique ships, colonizing uninhabited planets, and annihilating all who dares stand in your way. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, the crimes of war is at hand, and we all know that the Geneva Convention doesn't extend into space.
A dubious little creature getting up to mischief. This is no good.
If you've at least seen the game Starsector, then you may see that Space RPG has very similar art styles and design in comparison. That is because Space RPG takes direct inspiration from Starsector. While it could never exactly replicate the Starsector experience, overall it does a great job in giving us a satisfying experience of what a space role-playing game should be. Though this is a premium game, meaning that it is a paid game, no ads, no additional in-app purchases, and with content that amounts to over 24 hours of playtime, I can personally assure you that Space RPG 4 is 100% worth its price. Alternatively, if you don't fancy spending money, you can pick up Space RPG 3, which has been made completely free by the developer. It's just that I'm reviewing Space RPG 4 because it's just the better version. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed this one because I took care to really edit things together, as well as took extra care in avoiding spoiling anything in the story. Hopefully I didn't. But anyway, I thank you all for your continued support. I thank you for watching and see you guys in the next one.